Sora 9 floated like a broken coin in the dark. It wasn't a planet, or even a full space station. It was a giant scrap ring, old metal, lights that flickered, and engines that hadn't worked in years. But it was alive in its own strange way. Traders from across the stars came to Sora 9. They came to sell what other places didn't want. Illegal tech, weapons, banned chemicals, and sometimes people. Toma walked through the lower market, hands deep in his coat pockets. His boots were cracked. His coat was patched 3 times. He had only 1 credit left. 1 digital coin sitting on a rusted wristband. He looked tired. His eyes were sharp, though. The kind that had seen too many fights and too many lies. He passed. Food stalls first. Steaming meats, sour drinks, fish with eyes that blinked at you. Then tools. Old engines, oxygen filters. None of it he could afford. His goal today was simple. Buy a power cell for a broken freighter he'd found in Dock 4C. If he could get it flying, he'd be out of this place, free. But as he turned the corner, he heard a voice shouting, "Valeri! Stock! Prime cuts! Just landed from Vorka Drift. Get it fresh before it's gone." Toma stopped. He saw a crowd gathered around a metal cage. It was shaped like a shipping crate, with bars on the front. Inside were beings. They looked like people, but not quite. They had fur, soft and short, ears pointed high like cats, eyes large and glowing faint gold, thin tails curled behind them, and each of them wore a plain collar with a number, no names. A small sign blinked beside the crate, "Valeri, exotic meat, 80 units. Remaining. Toma felt cold. He had seen many things on Sora 9. He had seen creatures sold as pets or workers. But this, the man next to him spoke to the seller. "How do you cook them?" The seller grinned. "Steam first, then roast. The meat sings." Another laughed. "Do they scream only at first?" The seller replied. Toma took a step back. Inside the crate, the Valeri huddled together. Most of them stared at the floor. One looked up at him, a young one, maybe not even full grown. Her fur was ash gray, and her eyes met his. She didn't speak, but he could feel it, fear, and a question. Why was this happening? Toma turned and walked away. His hand shook in his coat. He told himself, "Don't look, don't get involved. You don't have the money, you don't even have food for yourself." But all the way back to his corner of the station, the image stayed in his mind. The cage, the collars, the eyes. He sat on the cold floor near his broken freighter and opened a small meal pack. Old beans and protein paste, no flavor. But he didn't eat. He stared at his wristband. 1 credit. He could trade it for a low-power cell. It wouldn't get the ship far, but maybe far enough to reach a better station. He thought of the Valeri again. He remembered something, a memory from 5 years ago. He had been caught in a mining accident on the Urine Drift. A cable snapped. His suit was torn. Oxygen leaking. Everyone else had run. But 1 crew member had stayed. Not human, a Valeri. She had sealed his suit with her own air tube, held him, until help came. Her name had been Sarah. She had sung while they waited, a soft, strange melody that echoed inside his helmet. She saved his life. Toma looked down at the food again, then tossed it aside. He stood up. He didn't know why he did. Maybe it was guilt. Maybe it was that song. Or maybe he was just tired of watching bad things happen while doing nothing. He walked back to the auction zone. The crowd was smaller now. A few crates had been taken already. Only 1 big crate remained, with a glowing sign, "Final batch. 72 units. Discounted." The seller looked up as Toma stepped forward. "You again. You want a sample now?" Toma didn't answer. He held up his wristband. "I want to buy this crate." The seller laughed. "The whole thing? You joking?" Toma didn't smile. "All of them, right now. You got credits for 72. Toma tapped his band. 1 high-grade credit. "That's all I have." "But you said the price dropped." The seller looked surprised. He ran a scan. His screen beeped. "Well, I'll be. That's a full mega credit. Thought they stopped minting these." "I want the crate." Toma repeated. The seller shrugged. "Sure. Why not? Less work for me." He hit a button. A stamp glowed red on Tama's wristband. Transaction complete. The crate clicked open. The Flaleri inside didn't move. They stared at him, unsure. Some shook. One hid behind another. The same young one with ash gray fur stepped forward. She tilted her head. Toma spoke gently. You're free now. She didn't understand the words, but she watched his eyes. Behind him, the seller called out, laughing. Hope you enjoy your meal, friend. Toma didn't reply. He looked at the crate, 72 living beings, and knew he had no idea what to do next. But he had made his choice. He had burned his last credit, and now they were his responsibility. To be continued in Part 2. The crate doors opened slowly. The Flaleri inside didn't run out. They didn't cheer. They just stayed still, confused and quiet. Some looked at Toma with wide, tired eyes. Others stared at the ground, not sure if this was a trick. Toma stood there, unsure of what to say or do. You're not in a cage anymore, he said softly. You're not meat. They didn't move. One Flaleri, an older male with torn fur on one arm, took a careful step forward. He sniffed the air, then looked around the market. His ears twitched. Toma waved toward the dark hallway behind him. This way, follow me. He started walking. At first, only one or two followed. Then slowly, the rest began to step out, a quiet group of 72. Moving like ghosts through the shadows of Sor Ren-9. No one stopped them. The station's rules were weak, and the market was too busy to care. Most traders were busy buying and selling other things. They didn't notice a human leading a pack of rescued beings. Into the darker parts of the station. Toma led them down rusted stairs, through broken vents, and into an old cargo bay deep below the docks. The bay was forgotten. No lights, only dim wall panels that still glowed faint yellow. Dust floated in the air. It smelled like oil and old wires. But it was safe. This was a mining storage area, Toma said, half to himself. No one comes down here anymore. The Flaleri looked around. Some sat on the floor, their legs folded under them. Others leaned against the walls. A few whispered to each other in soft voices, in their own language. Toma sat down near a wall. Inside. He had done it. He had spent his last credit. He had saved them. But now what? He had no money, no food, no plan. He looked at the Flaleri. Most were thin. Some had bruises. Many had fear in their eyes. They had been treated like animals, locked in cages, and nearly sold for cooking. And now, they were looking at him. As if he had answers. I don't know what I'm doing, Toma said out loud. I'm just a broken man with a broken ship. One small voice replied. We know. Toma looked up. It was a young Flaleri, the same one with ash gray fur who had looked at him in the crate. She stepped forward slowly, standing just a few feet away. She looked nervous but brave. You speak trade tongue? Toma asked, surprised. She nodded slowly. A little. I learned from humans, long time ago. What's your name? He asked. She looked down. Nya. Toma gave a small smile. Nya? That's a good name. She blinked. Why you help? US? Toma didn't answer right away. He thought about Sarah, the Flaleri who had saved him years ago. He thought about the song she sang, the way it made him feel calm even when he was dying. And he thought about the market, about the buyers who had asked how to cook the Flaleri. I couldn't let it happen again, he said. Someone saved me once. I owed a debt. Nia tilted her head. You buy all of us, with last credit? Toma chuckled softly. Yeah, I guess I did. She sat down near him, folding her legs. We are free now, she asked. Yes, Toma said. You are free. Neil looked around the dark bay. This not feel like free. Toma sighed. It's not much, but it's safe, she nodded. Safe is good. Later that night, Toma tried to sleep on the cold floor, but his mind raced. The Flaleri huddled together, some whispering, others resting. Nia stayed near him, quiet. At some point, he heard soft humming. He opened one eye. Nia was singing. It was low and gentle, a strange sound like wind moving through glass. The song seemed to come from her chest, not just her mouth, and soon, other Valeri began to hum with her. It was as if they all knew the tune. Toma closed his eyes again. The song reminded him of stars and open space, of peace. Maybe, just maybe, this wasn't a mistake. The next morning, Toma left the cargo bay to find food. He had nothing to trade, so he stole some old ration packs from a forgotten supply locker. Not proud of it, but it kept them alive. He returned with water and packs of dry meal cubes. The Valeri ate slowly, carefully. They were polite, quiet, Nya helped pass out the food. She was becoming a bridge between him and the others. They did not understand, she said. Why humans save them, do you? Toma asked. She nodded. I think you are tired of being alone. Toma didn't reply. He checked his ship later that day. Still broken. Still no power. No fuel. No nav systems. Just a shell. If he could fix it, they could leave the station, find a planet, a better place. But everything costs money, and he had none. He looked at the Valeri again, sitting in the shadows, sharing food, whispering songs. They were his now, his crew. His family, maybe. Toma sat down beside Nya again. I'll fix the ship, he said. I don't know how, but I will. We'll get out of here. She smiled. We help. He blinked. You know machines? She touched her chest. Memory songs. We share. Skills passed from one to another. Toma stared. Like learning from music, she nodded. Faster than speaking. Toma stood up. For the first time. He felt a little hope. Maybe he didn't need money. Maybe he just needed them. To be continued in part. Free? Toma stood in front of the broken freighter, staring at its cracked hull and burnt-out wires. It was old, rusted, a flying coffin, really. But it was his only way out of sore Ren-9. Behind him. The Valeri waited quietly. Some were still resting in the cargo bay. A few had followed him out. Nya stood beside him, her ears twitching as she looked at the ship. It doesn't fly, Toma said. Nya placed a hand on the side of the freighter. Her fingers brushed the metal. But it wants to. Toma raised an eyebrow. It wants to. Nya nodded. Machines listen. Some are silent. Some still dream. He had no idea what that meant. But somehow it didn't sound crazy coming from her. Toma opened the engine hatch. A sour smell hit his nose. Burnt oil and melted wires. He sighed. This will take weeks, he said. We help, Nya said. She turned and called softly in her language. 3 more Valeri came forward. One with black fur, one with golden spots, and one with silver streaks. They all had tools in their hands, old, but working. Where did they get those? Toma asked. Nya smiled. Found them in shadows. Your people throw away many good things. Toma chuckled. That's true. The Valeri began to work without being told. One climbed into the open panel. Another started testing cables. The one with golden fur sang quietly as she worked. Not words, but a soft, repeating sound. Toma watched, surprised. They know what they're doing. He whispered. Nya nodded. We remember skills. From others. It is our way. It was strange. But beautiful. The Valeri weren't just workers or survivors. They were like a shared mind. Each one adding to the memory of the group. One learns, all remember. Toma felt like he was part of something new. Something special. By the end of the day, they had fixed the ship's main lights and part of the cooling system. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Toma passed out food cubes. Again, the Valeri shared them equally. No one complained. No one took more than they needed. That night, they sang again. The song was different this time, louder, stronger. Not sad like before. It had rhythm, and even parts that sounded like laughter. Toma leaned back against the wall, eyes half closed. Listening, he didn't feel so alone anymore. The next morning, trouble came. A sharp knock echoed through the dark hallway leading to the cargo bay. Toma stood, motioning the Valeri to stay quiet. He crept to the door, peeked through a small crack. 2 figures stood outside, both wearing dark jackets with silver symbols on the sleeves, hunters. From Drexen Food Corp. Toma had heard of them. Drexen controlled most of the exotic meat trade in this part of space. and they didn't like losing their stock. One of the hunters spoke. We tracked the crate to this level. He used a mega credit to buy it. That's not normal. The other nodded. Maybe he's planning to resell them himself. Thomas' hands tightened. He stepped away from the door quietly and returned to the bay. "Nyeh," he said. "We've got company." "Bad ones." She stood quickly. "How many?" "2 for now. Maybe more later." Nyeh turned to the group and gave a sharp sound, a single note, clear and high. The Filari responded quickly, grabbing tools, wires, anything they could hold. Toma was impressed. "They move like a team. I'll stall them," he said. "You hide in the back room." Nyeh touched his arm. "Be careful." Toma nodded and stepped out into the hallway. The hunters turned, surprised. "You him?" one asked. "Depends who's asking," Toma said calmly. "You bought the Filari crate," the other said. "That's company property. I paid for them," Toma replied. "1 mega credit. Fair trade." "Doesn't matter," the first hunter said. "They're not citizens. They're product. You're holding company goods." Toma shook his head. "Not anymore. I gave them freedom." The hunters laughed. "Freedom? That's cute." One stepped forward. "Where are they now?" Toma didn't answer. The second hunter pulled a scanner from his belt. "We'll find them ourselves." Toma moved fast. He slammed the panel on the wall, dropping a metal gate between them. It wouldn't hold long, but it gave him time. He ran back into the bay. "We have to move." The Filari followed without panic. Nyeh led them through a back door into a hidden shaft. Toma had found it days ago, an old maintenance tunnel that led to Dock 5. "We need to get the ship working," Toma said. "Fast." Nyeh looked back. "We will sink to it." Toma didn't know what that meant, but at this point, he didn't question her. The next hours were chaos. The hunters broke into the bay. Toma held them off with an arc cutter and a welding torch. He took a few hits but stayed standing. Meanwhile, the Filari worked inside the freighter. They sang in waves, some high, some low. The lights inside the ship began to glow. Screens flickered on. Engines hummed. Toma limped aboard just as the outer door shut. "Engines are live." Nyeh shouted. Toma dropped into the pilot's seat. "Hold tight." The freighter groaned, then rose off the ground. Fire burst from the back, and the ship shot through the tunnel toward the outer ring. The hunters fired at them, but it was too late. They were gone. Later that night, the ship floated in a quiet part of space, away from Sor Ren-9. Toma stood by the main window, looking at the stars. His arm was wrapped in a bandage. His coat was torn, but he smiled. Nyeh joined him, holding a small power cell in her hands. "This is yours." Toma looked at it. "Where did you find that?" "Hidden in wall." "Old tech. Still good." Toma laughed. "We could have flown out days ago." She smiled. "You needed time to become one of us." He looked at her. "Am I one of you?" Nyeh nodded. "Yes, now you are." They both stood there, quiet. As the stars moved around them, the ship had no name yet, but Toma already knew what it should be called: The Last Credit. To be continued in Part 4. The freighter floated quietly through dark space. Its engines were weak, but they worked. That was enough for now. Inside, Toma sat in the small control room, checking the ship's systems. The screens blinked, showing power levels, fuel flow, and old maps. Most of it still needed repairs. But the ship had life again. Behind him, the Filari moved like shadows through the halls. They cleaned, fixed broken walls, and searched the storage rooms. They didn't ask for orders. They just worked. Toma looked through the window at the stars. He should have felt safe. Far from Soren 9, far from the hunters. But he didn't. "Something's coming," he said softly. Nyeh stepped into the room. Her gray fur was brushed clean now. Her eyes glowed in the soft light. "You feel it too?" she asked. Toma nodded. "They won't let us go that easy." Drexen lost money and pride. Nyeh's ears lowered. "They will send more, stronger ones," Toma said. "Not just to hunters with scanners. This time, they'll bring steel." That night, Toma and Nyeh gathered the Filari in the cargo hold. It was wide and cold, but it was now their meeting place. Everyone sat on the floor, quiet and calm. Toma stood in front of them, holding a small piece of metal in one hand. "This is an arc cutter," he said. "It's not a weapon, but it can become one." He showed them how to hold it, how to use the heat to slice through steel. Then he handed it to the Filari with silver streaks in her fur. "You learn. Then you teach the next." She nodded. "Nya stepped forward. "We do not want war," she said to the group, "but we will not return to cages. We are not food." Soft murmurs spread through the crowd. Heads nodded. "We are Filari," one said. "We fight together," said another. They trained slowly. Toma showed them how to hold scrap plates like shields, how to set traps with wires, how to block doors. The Filari shared what they knew too, how to move without sound, how to climb through vents, how to confuse enemies with song. It was not a real army, but it was something. The next day, a signal appeared on the ship's radar. A small Drexen scout ship, fast, light, but dangerous. "They found us," Toma said. He didn't panic. He expected it. He watched the screen as the scout circled, then pulled back, not attacking, just watching. "They're marking us," he told Nya, calling for help. Nya's voice was calm. "We have time. One day. Maybe two." Toma nodded. Then, "We make it count." They found an asteroid field nearby, cold and full of broken rock. The Filari helped guide the freighter inside, hiding between large stones. They turned off most of the lights and shut down the engines. The ship became a ghost. "We wait here," Toma said, "and prepare." The asteroid cave became a base. They dragged crates into walls, built hiding spots, sharpened old tools into blades. Nya and 3 others began to sing, a slow, deep tone that made the metal walls vibrate. Toma felt it in his chest. "What are you doing?" he asked. "Preparing the ship," Nya said. "So it remembers us." By night, the hunters came. Not 2, not 10, a full Drexen strike team, black armor, helmets with red visors, stun rods, net guns. They flew in with the carrier, docking near the asteroid field. "They're coming," Toma said. He handed Nya a shock baton. "Time to see if they like surprises." The Drexen team entered the field slowly, careful, watching for traps, but the Filari had already vanished into vents and shadows. The first team entered the freighter. It looked empty. Then, from the ceiling, 3 Filari dropped like shadows. They moved fast, not loud, not angry, just silent and quick. The lights blinked out. Screams echoed. The second team charged in and tripped a wire that dropped. Steel crates from above. One was crushed. The rest fell back. Toma, wearing an old mining suit, appeared in the hallway with a shield of scrap metal and a welding torch. He blocked the entrance. "You want them?" he shouted. "Come through me." The hunters tried, but they didn't expect heat to be used as a weapon. The torch hissed and burned. One man's suit melted at the arm. Another dropped his stun rod and ran all around the ship. The Filari sang high, sharp tones, echoing through the vents, confusing, piercing. The hunters clutched their heads, dizzy and lost. Some shouted into their radios, others just ran. Toma's arm was bleeding. A hit from a stun baton had bruised his shoulder. But he smiled. They were winning. Together. When it was over, 6 hunters were locked in a storage room. The rest had fled back to their ship. The Drexen carrier pulled away from the asteroid field, leaving smoke and sparks behind. Toma leaned against the wall, breathing hard. His suit was scratched. His hands were shaking. Nya walked over and touched his arm. "We did it," she said. He nodded. "Yeah, you were amazing." She looked serious. "They will come again. With more." Toma knew she was right. Drexen wouldn't stop. Not until they were gone. Or dead. But now, the Filari were not weak. They were ready. They were not. Meat. They had teeth. And steel. To be continued in Part 5. The freighter floated silently in the dark cold of space, nestled deep in the rocky embrace of the asteroid field. Inside, the crew moved carefully, knowing that the next attack could come at any moment. Toma stood at the small control panel, his eyes scanning the star maps and sensors. The ship was alive, but still fragile. Every beep or flicker on the screen made his heart jump. Nya joined him, her quiet presence calming the room. "They will come back," she said softly. Toma nodded. "We can't run forever." Nia looked out the window, her eyes distant. "Freedom is not a place, it is a choice." Toma thought about those words. He remembered Sarah's song, the warmth it brought to his broken body years ago. Maybe that was true. Maybe freedom was more than escaping cages or hunting down enemies. It was about standing strong. Together, the days that followed were tense. The Filari kept the ship clean and ready. They patched small holes, sharpened weapons, and sang their memory songs to keep their spirits high. Toma worked on the engine systems, using old manuals and the knowledge Nis shared. The Filari's ability to learn quickly amazed him. They remembered everything he showed them, sometimes even better than he did. One evening, Toma and Nis sat together in the cargo hold, the dim lights casting long shadows on the walls. "We need more than this ship," Toma said. "Drexen controls most of the space lanes nearby. If we want real freedom, we need to find allies." Nis frowned. "Allies? Where?" Toma shrugged. "Other travelers, pirates, refugees, anyone who hates." Drexen's greed. Nia's ears twitched. "It will be dangerous." "Dangerous, yes," Toma said. "But worth it." The next morning, the ship's sensors caught a weak signal from a nearby system, a small colony called Jara Prime. It was known for welcoming outcasts and traders who wanted to avoid big corporations. Toma called a meeting. "We're going to Jara Prime," he said. "We'll try to find help, maybe sell some parts or offer our skills." The Filari looked at each other, nervous but ready. Nya smiled. "We sing on the way. It will help." The freighter left the asteroid field, moving slowly toward Jara Prime. During the trip, the Filari taught Toma more of their songs. The music was strange but beautiful, a mix of tones that seemed to carry memory, strength, and hope. Toma found himself humming along, feeling less alone than he ever had. One night, a warning blared from the control panel. "Hostile ship approaching," Toma said quickly. He grabbed the controls as a small, dark cruiser appeared on the radar. It was a Drexen patrol vessel. Nia's eyes flashed. "They track us." Toma's heart pounded. "We have to fight," he said. "We can't run this time." The freighter wasn't fast or strong, but the Filari were ready. Toma powered up the ship's weak weapons. The Filari took positions, gripping makeshift weapons and ready to defend their home. The Drexen cruiser fired first laser beams slicing through space toward the freighter. Toma dodged, weaving the ship between asteroids as best he could. Nya sang loudly, her voice rising above the alarms. The Filari joined, their voices weaving a strange melody that seemed to pulse through the ship. Something changed. The cruiser's systems flickered. Its weapons cooled. Toma realized the song was interfering with their electronics, a kind of strange weapon made of sound, with renewed hope. He aimed the freighter's small laser at the cruiser's engine core. A hit, the cruiser shuddered, then spun away, retreating. Cheers erupted inside the ship. "We did it," Nia exclaimed. Toma smiled. "Your song saved us." When they reached Jara Prime, the colony was a bustling hub of activity. Ships of all sizes, colorful lights, and markets that stretched across space docks. Toma and the Filari entered cautiously. They found an old trader named Vorn, who listened carefully as Toma explained their situation. Vorn stroked his gray beard. "Drexen's power is strong, but there are others who fight them." He offered a deal: help Vorn repair his ship using the Filari's skills, and he would introduce them to a group of freedom fighters called the Silver Hawks. The Filari got to work immediately, using their memory songs to speed up repairs. The ship glowed with new life in days. In return, Vorn led Toma and Nia to a secret meeting. The Silver Hawks were a small but determined group. They believed in freedom from corporations like Drexen and helped those in need. Toma felt hope stirring inside him. During the meeting, the Silver Hawks shared news. Drexen was planning a large attack on several free colonies, trying to crush resistance. "If they win," said their leader, Mara, "there will be no place left for anyone who wants freedom." Toma stood tall. "We want to help. The Filari are strong. We've already fought Drexen once." Mara nodded. Then we have a chance. That night, Toma and the Philarii returned to the freighter, tired but ready. As they prepared to leave Jara Prime, Toma looked out at the stars again. He thought about how far they had come from cages and fear to songs and battle. Freedom was still a long way off. But with teeth and steel and a song in their hearts, they would fight for every step. And they would never be food again. To be continued in part 6. The freighter hummed softly as it drifted away from Jara Prime. Toma sat in the pilot's seat, his fingers tapping lightly on the controls. The stars outside blinked calmly, but inside the ship, tension was thick. Nya stood beside him, her ears twitching. The Philarii moved quietly in the cargo hold, resting but alert. Are you ready? Nya asked softly. Toma looked at her. We have to be. Drexen's attack will come soon. She nodded. The Silver Hawks told us what to expect. Many ships, weapons, soldiers. Toma swallowed hard. We'll face them with teeth and steel. And with our song. Nya smiled. Yes, the song is our strength. The Silver Hawks' plan was simple but dangerous. Drexen's fleet would try to hit several free colonies at once. Their goal was to crush resistance before it grew too strong. The Silver Hawks wanted to stop them. Toma and the Philarii would sneak into Drexen's supply lines and sabotage their weapons. Without supplies, the fleet would be weak. We strike the heart, Mara, the Silver Hawks' leader, had said. Toma respected her calm confidence. She was a sharp woman with a quick mind and steady hands. We'll need every advantage, he told Nya. She nodded. And the Philarii are ready for the next few days. The freighter moved quietly through space, avoiding patrols and scanning for Drexen's supply routes. Toma trained with the Philarii in the ship's small gym. They practiced with arc cutters and makeshift shields. They learned how to move silently and hide in shadows. Nya taught Toma more of the Philarii songs, tunes that could confuse machines or calm nerves. One night, Toma lay awake, listening to the soft hum of the ship. He thought about the Philarii, once prisoners, now fighters. It was strange how quickly things changed. Freedom was not just a dream anymore. It was a mission. Suddenly, the ship's alarms blared. Toma jumped up. Hostile ships incoming. The computer said. On the radar, bright dots appeared. Drexen patrols. They found us, Toma said. Gripping the controls, Nya's voice was calm. Prepare for battle. The Philarii gathered in the cargo hold, faces determined. Toma took a deep breath and pushed the freighter's engines to full power. The ship shook as it dodged laser fire. Hold on, he shouted. The battle was fierce. Drexen's ships were faster and stronger. They fired with precision, trying to disable the freighter's engines. But Toma and the Philarii fought back. The Philarii sang loud and clear, their voices weaving through the ship like a shield. The song made Drexen's targeting systems glitch and falter. Toma aimed the ship's laser at an incoming fighter. The beam struck true, and the fighter exploded in a ball of fire. One by one, Drexen's ships began to retreat. When the last enemy vanished into the stars, Toma exhaled slowly. We did it, he said. Nya smiled. But the war has just begun. The next day, they reached Drexen's supply station, a massive fortress floating near a gas giant. Toma felt his heart pound as they approached. This is it, he said. Nya nodded. We must be careful. The freighter moved silently toward the station. The Philarii hid in vents and shadows, ready to strike. Toma opened a hatch, and the Philarii slipped inside the station. The air was cold and dry. Toma and Nya led the group through narrow corridors and maintenance tunnels. They avoided guards and security cameras, moving like shadows. At last, they reached the weapons storage. Toma pulled out an arc cutter and began to slice through the metal door. Suddenly, alarms blared. They know we're here. Nya hissed. The Philarii spread out, fighting off guards with swift moves and clever traps. Toma worked fast, cutting wires and disabling systems with a final spark. The weapons depot shut down. They rushed back to the freighter as alarms echoed behind them. Guards chased them through corridors, but the Philarii were ready. They fought bravely, Using their tools and songs, Toma reached the airlock just as the last guard appeared. With a burst of energy, he pushed the guard back and slammed the door shut. The freighter's engines roared as they blasted away from the station, back in space. Toma looked at the stars. They had struck a powerful blow. Drexen's fleet would be weaker now. The Filari sang a song of victory, not loud, but full of hope. Toma smiled. Freedom was still far away. But with every step, they were closer. To be continued in Part 7. The freighter drifted gently through space, its engines humming a soft, steady song. Outside, stars glittered like diamonds scattered on black velvet. Inside, the air was thick with hope and quiet relief. Toma stood near the control panel, eyes fixed on the distant horizon. After weeks of fighting, hiding, and planning, the battle with Drexen was over, or at least paused. Nia approached silently, her gray fur shimmering in the soft light. "We did what no one thought possible," she said softly. Toma smiled. "The Filari were stronger than I ever imagined." She looked toward the crew gathered in the cargo hold. The Filari sat together, their faces calm but proud. Many of them were no longer scared or broken. They were fighters, survivors. "The fight changed us," Nia said. "Not just the battle, but who we are." Toma nodded. "We started as hunted. Now, we are free." The journey back to Jar Prime was peaceful. The freighter moved slowly, carrying precious cargo, the hope and strength of the Filari, the knowledge and scars of battle, and the bonds forged in the heat of conflict. Toma spent his days repairing the ship, improving systems, and teaching the Filari more about the stars and space travel. Nia led daily gatherings where they shared songs and stories, keeping spirits alive. One evening, as the sun set over Jar Prime's colorful horizon, Mara and several Silver Hawks came aboard. "You did more than we hoped," Mara said, shaking Toma's hand. "Drexen's power is broken here. Your fight inspired many." Toma looked around at the Filari standing tall. "We couldn't have done it alone," he said. "It was all of us." Jar Prime welcomed the Filari with open arms. The colony offered a place to rest, rebuild, and begin again. Toma watched as the Filari explored markets, met new friends, and learned to trust. Nya stood beside him, her eyes shining. "This is the start," she said. "Not just survival, but life." Toma agreed. A life without fear. In the weeks that followed, the Filari worked with the Silver Hawks to protect the free colonies. They shared their songs, the strange, powerful melodies that could calm machines and confuse enemies. They taught others how to fight with courage and heart. And they built a new community, where all beings, no matter their past, could live with dignity. One clear night, Toma and Nia stood outside the freighter, looking up at the stars. The galaxy was wide and full of unknowns, but Toma felt something new inside him, a steady fire. "Where will we go next?" he asked. Nia smiled softly. "Wherever freedom calls." Toma took a deep breath and looked ahead. The journey was far from over, but together they had found something no one could take away, a new dawn. The end.